In this section of the training, we're going to move on to stage 3 of the Understanding by Design process, planned learning experiences and instruction. Teaching for understanding requires that students be provided with those opportunities to draw those inferences and make generalizations on their own with that support from the teacher. So we really want the students to dive in so that it gets to that true nature of understanding. We have gone through and we've unpacked the standards, we've identified the learning targets, and we have determined the evidence we are going to use to gauge student understanding. So now it is time to really dig in and plan those learning experiences for the class. If we are looking for true student understanding and not just knowledge, it is teachers purposefully planning learning experiences for the student, going beyond simply delivering lessons or content to the students. We want to examine the different learning activities we are providing for the students so they can understand the content at a deeper level. Giving students the simple knowledge they need for a test can be done through telling students what they need to know. For understanding to take place, the students need to be provided with the opportunities to explore and discover the understanding on their own with that support from the teachers. As we are planning the learning activities and experiences, we need to think about those activities that will promote the desired content and skills we want the students to achieve. We need to think about the learning target for the lesson and how we are going to build those learning activities within the lesson to help the students achieve the learning target. This may be through a lecture, a video clip, the textbook discussion, or an article. You will need to determine the learning activity to help the students understand and achieve the learning target. As we are planning those learning experiences and instruction, we also want to make sure that the work is both engaging for the students and effective in leading the students to achieve the learning targets. Not only do we want to look at and ensure that learning activities are an effective means for the students to learn the content, but we also want to make sure that the learning activities are engaging for the students. The more the students are actively engaged in learning activities, the more likely the students are to understand the content. We want to consider the resources that are most appropriate for our goals, and it's not necessarily always the textbook. We need to plan for the resources that are going to be used in the lesson. Again, we need to think how the resource will help the students achieve the goal. It's not just about showing a video clip in class or simply using the textbook because it is there or easy to plan for. We need to consider how this resource will help the students achieve the goal, and there may be there may be several resources that we use as we're going through this process. So as we're planning these learning experiences, we want to use the Where To acronym to guide teachers on where to focus their efforts. These are some good things to consider and keep in mind as you are planning. So taking a look at each of these, so with the W, you're talking about where. Where are the students headed? Where are you trying to take them? So when you're talking about a unit of instruction, so when you're talking about the Civil War in general, what are those specific things along the way that students need to know so that they can get this learning achieved? And that's really where your learning target is to come into play. When you're talking about the H, hook the students. So what are you doing in that lesson to really motivate and get your students ready for that lesson? So that motivational piece that you're planning for, and that's included in that learning experiences plan. The opportunities for students to explore key ideas. So giving those students that opportunities to really explore and dig in, and not so much what we're always telling the students that they should know, but giving them that opportunity to explore so that they're developing those higher level thinking skills on their own. We also want to look at those opportunities to rethink, rehearse, refine, and revise. So it's not just about that one-time that you're putting the information in front of the students and thinking that they just got it, but really giving them that opportunity to go back and really dig in so that they can revise, refine, or rethink some of the things that they're learning about. And then how will the students evaluate their own work? Giving them those opportunities to evaluate their own work. And it's not just something that I'm filling this out just so I can turn something in, but really getting them to understand by giving them those opportunities to evaluate their own work. And then when you move down to tailor the learning experiences for the students. So that's where the heart of everything really comes in, is what are those specific learning experiences that you're going to have for the students that's going to help them achieve the goals for that lesson. And then lastly, with the O, the organized learning experiences for engagement and effectiveness. So how are you taking the students through that lesson? So you're talking about your motivation, your learning activities, your transitions to the different activities, and then finally into your closure and assessment. So how are you organizing all that so that it can be most effective and the students will learn? So now that we've kind of got some of those basics, we want to focus on that effective, engaging learning. So that's one of the things that we were kind of talking about with the previous slide with the Where To. That kind of helps take us through that process. So we want to develop learning experiences and instruction that promote the desired level of understanding, knowledge, and skill. So going through that process, we've talked about the knowledge and skills that the students need with the unpacking. And then we went through and we've learned about the assessments and how the students are going to show that they've learned something. And then now we're to that stage where we're talking about actually developing the learning experiences. So in the next section, we will take a look at the learning experiences template and take a look at a few examples.